Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30, on or about 6:30, we'll say, by reminding everyone to please silence electronic devices and also reminding you about public health protocols that have been established by the municipality so that we may meet in person and include the public. Please remember that while attending council meetings, whether you are a member of council, staff, or the public, it is mandatory that you use a face covering and to keep physical distancing of 2 meters from each other. All chairs have been set in place for social distancing therefore you are required to remain in your seat until vacating the building. Masks may be removed while seated, but you must wear your mask to vacate your seat, whether it is to approach the microphone or use the restroom. If you are approaching the microphone to address council as a delegation, to provide a citizen's comment, or to ask questions during question period, please remember to don your mask to approach the podium and microphone. You may remove your mask to speak, but you must wear your mask to return to your seat. If you need to adjust the microphone while you are at the podium, please remember to sanitize it after you've completed your time at the podium. Adhering to these protocols will help council allow us to meet in person and continue to invite the public to gather with us. And with that, we'll begin with a motion from Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Rowley that council approve the October 19th, 2020 council meeting agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. Members of council, do you have any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. We have a few announcements this evening, but we'll begin with something from Mr. Hagerman's office with regard to Brighton's Municipal Dog Park.
So we formed a bit of a selection working group to name the Brighton Municipal Off-Leash Dog Park, and there's about over 100 entries. Name the dog park. Lots of different names, but the committee selected the Brighton Bark Park as the winning name. The only issue with that, or not an issue, but the only caveat to that was that there was 4 submissions of from 4 different people for that name. So to make it fair, we're going to ask the mayor to draw a name from one of the 4, and that person will win the $100 gift card to Major Dog Grooming, and they will go down as the Brighton Off-Leash Dog Park naming winner. Certainly with recognition to the other 3 that came up with that name too. So
can I name the finalists?
Absolutely.
And then we'll draw one of those names out of the magic box.
Yep.
So the 4 finalists are Kelly Parks, Mike O'Neill, Grit Cole, and Doug Phelan. And at least 3 out of those 4 people are regular users of the dog park, as far as I understand. So that's good news. Let's see who wins the prize. The winner is Doug Phelan. I can't remember the name of his dog, though. So I'm sure Doug will be pleased with that. With thanks, Mr. Hagerman, to you and the group that got together for choosing the name. Who was on that committee? Councillors Rowley and Tadman? Well, thank you very much for working together to choose that name, and congratulations to Mr. Phelan on that. And Mr. Councillor Bateman, you have an announcement this evening.
Thank you. Well, 2, and I know Councillor Rowley will probably mention it, there was several successful food drives. I participated in 2 both with MPP David Piccini, one here in Brighton, and then I ventured on down to Coburg to help out at that one. The other announcement, I had spoke to the mayor, and it's really not an announcement, it's more of a public service announcement. I know everybody has a different level of understanding or belief in the COVID-19 pandemic and stuff, but I've downloaded the COVID-19 alert app, and I would encourage everybody to do so if they feel comfortable doing it, because every little bit does help, and I know it does work. 1 week ago, somebody had the COVID alert app downloaded on their phone, and it went off, and they successfully, if you want to call it successfully, but it was successful in terms of shutting down the spread, because there was a curling tournament in Kitchener-Waterloo when the alert went off. So it does work. It just depends on whether you're comfortable doing it. If you're comfortable doing it, I really encourage everybody to download the app. There's no name required. They say it's anonymous, but I know everybody has different levels of trust with that, but please consider it.
At the end of the day, if you have a cell phone, you're being watched anyway, so you might as well download the app and keep yourself safe. Thank you, Councillor Bateman. And I'm pleased to announce our new fire chief has joined us this evening, Jim Smith. If you'd like to stand up and take a bow, or at least wave your arm around, that's okay too. Jim has over 25 years of fire and emergency management experience under his belt, having worked as a firefighter, an instructor, and chief, most recently in Balzac, Alberta, as the district fire chief for the Rocky View Fire Department. Rocky View has 7 fire stations and over 200 volunteers and full-time firefighters. Jim's experience in fire and emergency response, training, budgeting, and management will be an asset to Brighton's fire department and to the municipality. Chief Smith, welcome to Brighton. Are there any other announcements this evening? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to kind of piggyback on what Councillor Bateman said. Once again, the Brighton Fair Share Food Bank has benefited greatly. Our shelves are stocked for now. And so once again, our generous community, we thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councillor Rowley. Any other announcements? So with that, move on to adoption of the minutes. And I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, second by Councillor Rowley, that Council approve the October 5th, 2020 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that Council approve the October 13th, 2020 planning meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We do have a delegation from the Brighton Public Library Board, Chair Bob Burke and CEO Heather Ratz, to provide an overview of the library's challenges and successes during the closure due to COVID-19, illustrating the valuable role that the library plays in the community, which we always knew was true, but we'll still listen politely. Come on up, Heather. And then push the button in front of you there, the purple one. Yeah, I think you just turned it off, Heather. Purple button in front of you. There you go.
Hello. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure I'm good to go here. All right. So I was told that I have 10 minutes, so I should only be about an hour or so. So I hope everyone's okay with that.
You just carry on.
First of all, thank you to the mayor and council for allowing us to speak here tonight. The library board and I thought that this was a good time to come before council and talk about what the library was able to achieve during the COVID closure. And it's also Ontario Public Library Week. So again, perfect opportunity to come and show you how valuable the library is to the community. So I have called this presentation Unmasking the Possibilities. You can probably guess where I got that. So just to go over a few key dates. So on March 14th, which was a Saturday, the Brighton and the Codrington branches closed and the Brighton book drop was moved inside. At that point, we didn't know when we would be open again, so we thought it best to keep it out of the public area. On March 17th, all library staff began working from home. And fast forward to May 19th, when staff returned to work at least 1 day per week to begin the gradual return to work on a more regular basis. On May 25th, we returned our book drop to the front of 35 Alice Street. And I can tell you that that night we closed it because we were overwhelmed with returns. So we had to set up a schedule, and I'm happy to say that we're back to having it open 24/7. 2 days later, on May 27th, our curbside service began. And then on September 8th, we were happy to be reopened to the public in partnership with the municipality. So what did library staff do at home? Well, the first thing we had to do was actually learn how to work from home. It wasn't a simple set up an office in your dining room, open your laptop and do what you do when you're at the office. We had to figure out, what do we need to work from home? What are we going to do for our patrons? How are we going to deliver? And how am I going to get that darn cat off everything that I need she sits on? So these were some of the things that we dealt with. We had to figure out who has the skills and what skills do we need to improve upon and how are we going to do that. We stayed connected via Zoom and Facebook. And this was really important for us to stay connected as a team, not only from a work perspective and consistency in providing customer service, but also just from a mental health perspective, so that each member of the team knew that they were supported and we were all in this together and we were all there to encourage and to support one another. So basically we had to create ways that we were going to connect with, enrich, and inspire our patrons. That is, after all, our vision is to connect, enrich, and inspire. So we had to create ways to do that in a different way than we were used to doing on a daily basis. And right from the get-go, we were planning on how are we going to make a recovery and how are we going to return to in-branch services. So we had a recovery group that we affectionately called the Freedom Fighters, and that included 5 staff members and our board chair. And we got to work on how we were going to make this happen. We were very supported by the municipality, especially former Fire Chief Rick Caddick, who was able to come to 2 of our Zoom meetings, and he also made a site visit to give us support and to offer advice. So we were very happy that we were able to partner with the municipal team on that. So how exactly did we connect, enrich, and inspire our patrons? These are just a few of the things we did. We launched virtual story times and crafts weekly on our Facebook page. And a story time online is not just a matter of reading a book to a device, uploading it to Facebook, and having people view it. We had to learn about copyright. What could we do? What couldn't we do? We had to research what certain authors were offering. And it's a little bit different reading a story to a device than it is to a group of kids who are giving you feedback and who are interacting. And I'm sure Mayor Ostrander can support me in that. He did one of our virtual story times. It was one of our most well-received ones. So we did the story times weekly to keep consistent with what we were providing in branch under normal circumstances. We launched our strategic plan online, which was supposed to be in person in April, but we knew that wasn't going to happen. And we knew that we couldn't wait to be in person again because we really didn't know when that would be. This is a living document, and we wanted to show the patrons that we were willing and able to make it come to life despite the circumstances we were in. I continued to write my monthly newspaper column, and we had a monthly newsletter that went out to patrons via email. And with these, we hoped that we would be able to connect with people that weren't connecting with us on social media. I drastically had to increase the ebook and e-audio collection to meet demands from people that were isolated at home and needed something to read or to listen to. We introduced Canopy, which is an on-demand streaming platform for movies. We hosted a ton of virtual programs, everything from magicians to drum workshops to scientists and everything in between. We partnered with the municipality and Brighton Digital Archives to host a virtual Canada Day. And I think by now we all know how successful that was. Can't wait to do that again next year. And finally, we promoted mental health, which I think doesn't always get the recognition that it needs, but we felt it was for our own good and for the good of our patrons. So we continue to do weekly posts that offer resources, advice. The person that does these posts puts herself out there. She shows her vulnerability. She shows what she's going through and gives people little tips and tricks on what she does to overcome some of the stresses in her life. So these are just a few of the things that we did. We did some other things that matter, such as simply being present. We wanted people to know that even though we weren't there physically, the library was still there 24/7 on our website, on our social media. And we had a lot of informal conversations. I had our phone line come to my cell phone so that patrons could call and ask anything they wanted. They usually started out with, how do I download this book to my iPad? But inevitably the conversation would turn to, how are you? How's your family? How are you dealing with this? Can we provide help? Any other resources? So I think those personal conversations that we had that weren't library related were really important, especially for the more senior patrons. And maybe this was their only connection that they had that day. And that was very important for us. So we were basically sending the message that we are in this together. We're still here. We're struggling too, but we will get through this. So on May 27th, we were able to offer curbside service. So when this happened, we were able to offer busy bundles and bookfinder service, which basically means that parents and adults will tell us what they want. We do the browsing, we do the gathering, we check out the items to the library cards, and all they have to do is come to curbside and pick the material up. We offered craft kits, so everything you need for one craft was in one quarantined bag. All they had to do was pick it up. We offered remote printing requests, so you email your request into us, we print it, and you pick up and pay at curbside. And of course, you know that we are the pickup and drop off for the Shop Local Passport Initiative, which I think has been very successful so far. Now, of course, I know that we love to collect statistics. Numbers are important. I didn't want that to be the focus of this presentation. I think the personal aspect is a little bit more important in this case, but I did pull 3 numbers for you. So Overdrive, which is our platform for ebooks and e-audiobooks, we saw an increase of 34% during the time we were closed. Compared to 2019 and the exact same dates. So that was huge. And now that we're open, we're seeing a slight decline in that usage, which is good because we want to welcome people back into the actual library. We had 64 craft kits that were requested and handed out at curbside, and we had 136 new Facebook followers. So now that we are open since September 8th, we are calling it the Reimagine Library. So we're holding story times right here at the King Edward Community Center. The reason for that is that our program space is our quarantine area and storage for all of our seating that we can't have out at the moment. We are giving the Sunny Days program a special visiting hour. So once a week, they come in an hour before we open. They're able to browse and check out material and have a story time. And that way their bubble stays safe and comfortable, and staff are also feeling safe and comfortable. We continue to hand out the busy bundles and the craft kits because there are some people that just aren't ready to go out into a public space such as the library. In the future, in the next couple of months, we're looking at becoming homeschool friendly so that we can provide more resources and more information for those parents, especially the new ones that are new to homeschooling. So we hope to become homeschool friendly very soon. And we find that these are words to live by. If plan A doesn't work, the alphabet has 25 more letters. I'm not sure what letter we're up to now, but we've used quite a few of them already. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, Bob would be happy to answer those before his interpretive dance.
Please no. Promise me that's not going to happen. Thank you. So I will open the floor to members of council for any questions about the presentation, but Heather and Bob, and I hope you'll take this back to your board and your staff. Council really appreciates the partnership, even more so now during the pandemic. The library really came to the table for the municipality in terms of not just the virtual Canada Day, but so many other things you did, helping Ben out with the passport and making sure that the community had, making sure that the community's hub was open and alive and well, even though we were actually closed. So thank you very much for that. Members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to concur with what you just said. Last year was my first year sitting on this board, and I certainly have a different perspective of what the library, the value that the library has to this municipality, that's for sure. But I do have a question, Heather, regarding the story time that you have here. Does the library have to pay rent to use the facilities for that?
We do, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the most important thing you heard today, which I didn't remember hearing it at a board meeting, is the contact you have with people that are shut in and lonely. And there's a lot of people that I come in contact with also that are so happy if you just call them or you drop something off for them. So kudos to the library board staff and anyone else that's involved in that, because I think it's very important.
Anyone else? Councillor Anderson.
Oh, just a quick thank you for providing such a great service to the community. It's exciting. I watch you on Facebook. You've always got something exciting going on. And if it's exciting to me, it must be exciting to everybody else in town too. So anyhow, good job. And I'm really impressed. I wasn't quite sure what the board does till this year either. And boy, your hands are full, even working from home or whatever, but your hands are full. Good work.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that on Wednesday, October 21st at 7 o'clock, we're hosting a local book chat with local author Dan Buchanan, and the link is on our Facebook page.
Thank you. When was that posted?
We've been promoting that for a few weeks now, but if you go to the page and look under events, it should be there.
Thank you. Councillor Rowley.
Just to add to that, I think some of us on council today received an email with the link as well, if not from you, Mary. Did you get one? I got one too.
That was for the board. I sent it to all the board members.
Oh, okay. So maybe we could forward that to the rest of council.
Thank you.
Just another question, kind of, sort of. I know I'm not allowed to ask staff or anything during delegations, right?
No.
Okay, I'll have to leave it till later on then. Thank
Please.
you.
I know what you're thinking, so
Thank you.
we'll figure out a way through the back door, all right? I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council receives the delegation from the Brighton Public Library Board, Bob Burke, Board Chair, and Heather Ratt, CEO, regarding the library's challenges and successes during the closure due to COVID-19. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried with our thanks. Are there any citizens' comments? There are none. Thank you. So move into staff reports. Starting with the 2020 department work plans, third quarter report. Mr. Castleman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Yes, I do. There's 3 areas that I'd like to highlight for council's consideration and information to the community. The first is dealing with financial matters that we tackled over the course of the last quarter. Certainly, we had an opportunity to bring forward some budget guidelines for council's consideration during that period of time. In addition to that, we turned our mind to moving forward the whole budget process. And the first meeting, a reminder for council and the community, is starting next Monday, the 26th. And we'll be tackling capital budget for 2021, commencing next week. Your packages, I trust, will be ready tomorrow. Will either be delivered or ready for pickup. So certainly the process is going to play out over the course of the next couple of months. Our goal is certainly to adopt both the operating and capital budget for 2021 prior to Christmas. Having said that, decision-making is up to council, and we're going to go as quickly or as slowly as you want, just because we want to try and get it done before Christmas. If we need an extra meeting or extra couple of meetings, that's great. We want to have a fulsome discussion and make sure you have the information in order to make good decisions with respect to budgeting. So second item is with respect to COVID. We spent a lot of time with respect to preparing ourselves for bringing back staff, which returned to the municipality on June 26th, all staff, or June 22nd, all staff returned. And the intervening time, we've turned our mind to reintroducing the public to our various facilities. That happened on the 8th of September, where we opened back up in between June 22nd and the 8th of September. A lot of effort was put in place to ensure that when we introduced the public back to our facilities, we were keeping not only the public safe, but also our staff safe at the same time. So took into consideration a number of different initiatives. Certainly the grant that we received from the province was of great assistance in order to do so. So I think we're in a good state, even though we are in phase 2 or round 2 of this pandemic. I think we've positioned ourselves very well. Just a few items with respect to some of the administrative tasks that we've had to tackle over the course of the last quarter. Certainly, council is aware that we've tried to tackle the illegal cannabis operations within our municipality and put together a task force in that regard, and have reported out to council and the community over the last quarter or so. Our economic development officer has put together a economic recovery team as a means of dealing with some of the offshoot of what's been happening from COVID. We've also put together an economic development committee terms of reference, and this evening council will have an opportunity to appoint community members and also council members to that committee. We're all anxious to get it up and running and create assessment and jobs and prosperity within our municipality. Just a couple other administrative items. We've dealt with renewing contracts for both our union and non-union group until next year, so they're well in place. And we now have a consultant on board to deal with some of our mandated legislative items dealing with compensation review and pay equity. Beyond that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, CAO. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receive the 2020 third quarter work plan report for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I know staff has been busy creating the budget, getting everything organized on that. At some point during our budget deliberations, will we be meeting to review our strategic plan?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, from my perspective, there are 2 initiatives that we have to tackle between now and Christmas, one of which is the budget process, and the second initiative is dealing with strat plan. I'll call it a refresh. So I think that they're going to be 2 separate items, 2 separate evenings. I think the strategic plan refresh deserves our full attention and a dedication of 1 or 2 nights in that regard. But certainly my plan is to bring that forward prior to Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Bateman?
A couple of questions. I'll start with, if I can get this to stop rotating. Just an update to see that we're still on target with the wastewater or the lift station, the pumping station. It says 50% design drawings are due on October 15th. We're on target with that, or that, well, we're at the 19th now, so I assume we've hit that.
CAO?
Thanks, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to defer to Mr. Parkinson, who is more up to speed on that project than I am.
Mr. Parkinson?
Through your worship. Yes, we received the 30% design drawings Friday, and we have this week to review. And then this coming Friday, we meet with the design firm to go over any changes or questions that we have at that time so that they can progress to the 90%.
Go ahead.
The second question, nobody cringe, it revolves around the Harbor Point Pond. I think we all were CC'd on the emails. So if we can get somebody to give clarification, because the emails were around the maintenance, as the catch basin's been cleaned out, and the flow. So I don't know if the CAO or Mr. Poole could speak to that. I saw one picture of the catch basin. I'm no expert on it. It didn't look like it was cleaned out, so I'll let the experts.
CAO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to defer either to Mr. Parkinson or Mr. Poole.
Mr. Parkinson?
Through your worship. Yes, the catch basins referred to in the email are of the street nature, and they're of the stormwater system along the street network. The pond is a different setup. It's been inspected 2 to 3 times so far this year, and the growth in front of that outlet structure is not deemed, to be intrusive or blockage of any kind. If there's any more information, maybe Scott can add, because he actually did a site visit today, but I think that should clarify things as far as the catch basin clean out.
Mr. Poole, anything to add?
Not a lot, Your Worship. There is vegetation in front of the outlet structure, does not impact the functioning of the structure. The pond, the stage storage discharge is operating excellent. So the vegetation, I think, just screens an ugly concrete structure and provides some filtering at that. So, but it does not impact, the vegetation does not affect the functioning.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor LeBlanc?
Through you, Chair. How does the vegetation in front of it help out with filtration? Is it removing out organic compounds, inorganic compounds? Does it add clarity?
Go ahead and answer that question, but just remember we're discussing the 2023 quarter work plan report, members of council, not specific operational issues about a stormwater management pond, but go ahead and answer that question, please.
Yes, the vegetation provides a physical screening, keeping crap out of the outlet structure. It's offset from the structure, so it has some filtering, and the vegetation itself does what pond vegetation does, and it does filter water.
Councillor Anderson?
Your explanation makes sense. I just wondered when would it reach that point where you should be dealing with it? Obviously, probably not the end of this year. It's going to freeze up, or a portion of it will. So is that something you look at doing first thing in the spring, or when would people expect it so we don't keep getting photos?
Mr. Poole?
Through you, Mayor. We'll look at it once before freeze up, make sure that everything's clear of the openings, and then in the springtime again. So there really is nothing of note right now.
Circling back to the 2023 quarter work plan, that's all part of the operational maintenance and inspection of stormwater management ponds in the community that we have begun to do on a regular basis now. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Not a question, just a comment. I just wanted to thank the CAO for this report. It actually gives quite a bit of information about each department and what's going on. And this is the sort of thing we've asked for. So I do appreciate receiving it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anything else? Councillor Tadman?
Maybe Scott or somebody could help me understand. I thought this was still a responsibility of the developer that is in partnership and that it was supposed to be an annual clean out. Am I wrong in that?
Mr. Poole?
The pond was assumed by the municipality, so overall, the pond is ours and ours to maintain under the ECA. The developer expanded it this year, so the work related to that expansion is under his maintenance and covered by his securities through the subdivision agreement.
Go ahead.
I think I'll ask that question another time, but just very briefly, Mayor, and Jim Miller's not here, Director of Public Works.
He's right behind you.
Oh, sorry, Jim, I didn't see you
So,
back
so
there.
don't say anything bad about him. Go ahead,
It
Councillor.
wasn't going to be bad.
I know it wasn't.
I don't say bad things in public. Anyways, on the Parks and Recreation Department, bullet 3, it talks about the implement recreational trace master plan recommendation. There's an awful lot of words there, but we don't have a committee. And we used to. I just wanted to know, are we going to have a committee again? Because it doesn't seem like there's any coordination anywhere with the trails that are going on.
Mr. Miller, can you speak perhaps to two questions, I think, there? One is about a committee and the other is about coordination.
Well, I think when I get to the point where I feel like we're going to get somewhere, I will suggest an ad hoc committee like we had before. We're not there yet.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? Deputy Mayor.
Can I just follow up on that? We do get questions about this a lot. So I'm just wondering, you're saying when we get there and we're not there yet, when do you think we might be there?
Problem we have is we do not own any of the properties
Yeah.
that the trail is on. So we have to speak to the owners. I wouldn't say negotiate, but at least get the owners on board to do it. That's the biggest thing. Until that happens, there's not much we can do because we don't own the property.
So and just as a reminder, we have one development in play that may help out with that with regard to the off of Cedar Street. And I know staff have made some headway with another property owner a little further to the west of that property that I'm speaking of.
Yes.
And I think maybe when those two things happen together, that will be the time. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds exactly right.
Okay.
Well, once we get close to that point, then we can do it.
Councillor Bateman, did you have your hand up? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind this present council that probably around 2005, Mr. Lance was alive. The brothers.
The Grimes brothers.
Pardon? The Grimes,
Grimes
yeah,
brothers.
were alive. And both of those people had said to me, because they knew me from when I was a child, that if I would come to them, they would agree to put that land over. But at that time, the mayor said, no, basically mind your own business, and I will talk to them. Well, they didn't know that person. So it comes to today, and now we're saying, well, we got to wait for property owners. Sometimes it pays to have people that know people on a committee that can go and talk to people. And I'm not suggesting in any way that would be me now, but people know other people in the community, and sometimes that helps because we're getting nowhere. That was 2005. So 15 years later, we're still talking about the same properties to make a link to keep going. So I really think the committee should be formed now.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Anderson.
Well, just on a positive note, I'm glad to see there's swans in the pond.
Very well, thank you.
All right. Got rid of the geese.
So I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of the motion to receive the report? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next report is with regard to the accommodations feasibility study final report. Mr. Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, I do not.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receive the final accommodations feasibility study report for information. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Our next report is with regard to the flag policy amendment. Mr. Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council approve the amended coat of arms and logo non-corporate usage policy. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
I was looking for something in my notes, and I just wanted to make note that I didn't support the study for that accommodation feasibility study. I believe that any corporation should do their own marketing and not taxpayers. And the same with, I believe it was the Lions Club who originally did all the work and having approached them now about going ahead using something that was they were very proud of bringing forward. So I just can't support that either.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. The next report is with regard to dog control services. Mr. McGee, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council receives the report dated October 19th, 2020, a report regarding the dog control services for the municipality of Brighton. And the council authorizes the execution of an agreement with the Quinte Humane Society and Pierce Animal Control for providing dog control services. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
It's the fact that we've had Pierce before, is my memory correct? That they use them, that we've used them on at other times. I can't remember when now.
Mr. McGee?
No, I don't, unless it was 10 or 15 years ago, but nothing.
Yeah,
recently.
was quite a while ago. Anyways, I know that I was on another board that they used them in with good results. So,
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Bateman?
It's not specifically about the dogs, but it indicates in here that they're in animal control. And I've had questions in the past. Do we have somebody on staff? Is it incorporated in this that not on our staff, but contract out that do animal control? I think the last time I got a message was for a beaver in a culvert up at Timber Ridge Golf Course. Who do we direct people to when something like that happens?
Mr. McGee?
If it's through your worship, if it's, I guess, our infrastructure, I know our public works guys do beaver trapping, but I think that's the extent of it. Everything else would have to be a pest control company, whether it's private or public property.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Anderson?
Just looking at the fees, I think they're reasonable compared to what they used to be. Every time Pierce is called there's a $225 flat fee. Who's doing the calling? Is it strictly the municipality calling, or is it anybody calling?
Mr. McGee?
I've discussed my concerns with Pierce Animal Control. I think during business hours, the residents should be coming through the municipality. Then after hours, I guess we could leave it up to the OVP if they need to utilize them, or if residents, or maybe we can do some call system where people call an after hours number and then it's given to staff and then staff can make that decision after hours. Pierce Animal Control did say, if they can, hold off to the morning and maybe save us some money, they may coach the resident on that.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, if I can, I think that'll surface. Everybody has a pet or a dog, more so now than a number of years ago. And I think, it could mushroom. So if there's a way of just keeping that under ropes or under tap, I think it's a good agreement.
Thank you. Councillor Tadman.
Just when the bylaw officer said about trapping beavers, I just wanted to make sure that they were live trap. We don't want the headlines saying that we're catching beavers and making pelts.
Can you clarify that for us, Mr. McGee, when we...
I have to refer that question to Mr. Parkinson.
Mr. Parkinson?
Through your worship. To be honest, I don't know if they're live traps or if they're other kinds, but I can check into that and let you know. But we do remove probably 3-4 beavers a year, and they are quite detrimental to the infrastructure when they dam it up, and if that dam breaks, it typically washes the road out or it affects private property. So they are quite a nuisance to maintain.
Anything further on this motion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. Now we'll move into motions and notices of motion. We have 2 motions this evening. The first is moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Bateman. The staff review the benefits of the municipality remaining within Northumberland County, or consider the possibility of either amalgamating with another county or standing alone as its own county, and further that staff consider the cost benefits of maintaining our own infrastructure. Councillor LeBlanc, this is your motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes. Through your honor. The reason I put this motion in, when I look at traffic studies, infrastructure studies, our official plan, they're all reviewed over a period of time. And so what I wanted the staff to look at is our agreement with Northumberland County. Are we getting our bang for our buck? Because when I look at all the news releases that are coming in from Northumberland County over the past 2 years, I'll use their own data. This year, they were supposed to spend $27 million on infrastructure repair. And last year, the same thing, 25 million. Between both years, they only spent 6 million combined. So the infrastructure is falling behind. When you look to get $140.2 million, and Brighton is one of the 7 counties, and probably $5 million that comes back to Brighton. We put in 7.4 to 7.8 million into the county, and for our infrastructure and stuff, very little has been done but paving. So I'm just looking at it over as a whole. Before we were the county, we had our own fire department, had our own ambulance service. We've had everything, but it seems like most of the money is being spent in Port Hope and Coburg and not being spent here. Our infrastructure, like Loomis Bridge, is being closed. They're going to go spend $150 million to start with, but everybody knows the price goes up on a bridge in Campbellford, which is going to be lacking in infrastructure. Our road between County Road 30 and 26 on Telephone Road, we're going to have to maintain it. The design is about 600,000, repairs another $1 million, and it was basically destroyed by garbage trucks going to the landfill. And Brighton has to maintain that for 5 other municipalities. I understand they do a lot of good for us. We have a lot of stuff. When it comes for economic development, Mr. Hageman and the CAO have sold all the lots in our industrial park. I don't see where the county has assisted in it. When we do tourism, we're spending a lot of our dollars into Quinte West. I don't see too much in Northumberland County, only data that they're helping Brighton or coming into this area with it. So basically, all I'd like to know is, are we getting the bang for our buck? Is it the right thing to stay there? Should be looking at it. Other municipalities like Hastings, Napanee have decided to take back their infrastructure and get that back because they can maintain it better. And the stuff going with it, because they were supposed to dredge County Road 64 this year, hasn't been done. There's a number of projects they were supposed to do over the last 4 years in Brighton that haven't been done. So it begs the question, we should look at it. And that's all I'm asking, not saying to leave, but we should look at it, and staff should come up with a report. Yes, it is, certain things are good, certain things aren't, certain things we should work in and improve. If it is that they say, let's say on infrastructure, roads and grounds, let's say each municipality puts in one councillor to sit on that committee to help out the wardens that are sitting there, our mayor, that's sitting on those committees, and they can't look at all the documentation and everything going on, but it would give us a voice to the table. It wouldn't be a shared vote like it is now. So I'm just looking at it. The question begs to be answered and it begs to be studied. So it can't be ignored. So that's all I'm saying. Let's just look at it. If it's worth it, not. If the council does it, the rest of the council thinks it's a waste of time, I have no problem with that. But it needs to be looked at why the infrastructure money that you're saying that they're supposed to be sent, and this is all their own information. Like they're spending $102 million on salaries and benefits. Their sunshine list over the last 4 years has grown by almost 700%. So we got to look at where we're getting where our money's going and what we're getting back for the citizens of Brighton. I'm just looking to take care of our taxpayers and our infrastructure, because every time we're complaining about roads, I look at them, they're mainly the county roads. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from members of council? I would just like to point out that Highway 2 from Colborne to the Brighton border was fully reconstructed over the course of the last 2 years. And number 30 from Hilton all the way to the Warkworth border was reconstructed entirely over the last 2 years. There's not much other county road system in the municipality of Brighton. I would also point out that although we don't see the money returned, the Golden Plough Lodge is open for residents of the municipality of Brighton. Social housing, whether it be the Mead Street location or any other location in the other 6 municipalities that has social housing, is open to the residents of the municipality of Brighton. And so the social services department, all of the money does stay in Coburg because that's where they're centered. However, most of that money is provincial money, and it is available to anyone in need here in Brighton who needs it. So there is, you're right, a lot of money we don't see returned because that money stays in the county center in order to provide services for people in need. My biggest concern here is that we will be running down a fool's errand in order to try to prove a point that may or may never get proven. In order to remove ourselves from the county system would require a triple majority vote, which is unlikely to happen, and then would require after that the permission of the province. And the province has made it clear they have no interest in making any changes to the current municipal structure across the province of Ontario. So I don't want to, and I understand why you're doing this. I get it. You know, I get as frustrated as you do with things that happen at the county, and I sit there. It is a large bureaucracy, and sometimes things move a little slower than we would like, but that's true here in Brighton too. The larger the organization, the slower things move sometimes. With regard to economic development, I don't know if Mr. Hagerman can speak to this, but I do know several times when the economic development team has provided us with leads and lead generation opportunities. I'm just thinking one that happened last week, but I'm sure there's been more over the course of the past, however long you've been here, Ben. Is it like 7 years now? It feels like 6 months. What's it been?
A year last week.
There you go.
Without saying too much, I mean, we have a really good relationship with QEDC and Chris King and his group, and I would say in the last year I've received more leads from them. Sure. This is not data driven by any means. This is just me talking on the spot, but certainly the relationship is growing with Northumberland now that they're understanding that I'm here, and it's coming along.
And I know that we have a cost sharing opportunity with a new fire station. Now that we have our chief here, this is probably the first time he's hearing about it. But Chief, that'll be certainly high on your list of priorities as we move forward. I guess I'm just concerned that, in our effort to build partnerships across the county, we don't want to taint that opportunity. We have a county council that is looking to make some pretty significant efficiency changes. We're just sort of getting our feet underneath us now after 2 years, and I think you'll see that if those efficiencies drive forward, certainly under the current warden, we've had opportunity to make those changes. So I certainly think through the budget process this year, you're going to see some other changes, but just don't want to be throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And I also don't want to be tainting relationships that we have tried very hard to build over the course of the last couple of years. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I certainly understand what you're saying, Councillor LeBlanc. And I've asked many questions. Of course, you know me in economic development. I've asked many questions over the years about where our money is going, and I haven't always gotten satisfactory answers. But I'm not sure if the answer is to look at leaving and going on our own. I think the answer is making sure that we ask our member of the county council to hold their feet to the fire with things that are bothering us or things that we're concerned about. And I know that's a big task, but that council is made up of mayors of small communities like ours. So I think we just have to keep on these issues that we find coming up. And as a group, we need to advocate for Brighton. And I think that's the best way for us to go about it, to work together to make sure we're getting our dollars worth from the county. At the end of the day, could we be further? I don't know. And I don't know that's a road that we should consider going down right now. We have so many things to be concerned about. So those are my thoughts on it.
And to just follow up on that, the province will never let us go out on our own. We would still have to buy the services that are currently delivered by the county from the county, but we would lose representation at the county if we did separate from the county. So like Quinte West, for example, ambulance services, social services, housing services would be purchased through the county without representation at the county level. So that's just something to consider as we go forward. And yes, quite to the point about, is this something we need to focus on? I think if we do pass this motion, we're going to have a serious discussion about what do we remove from the strategic plan if we're going to pile this level of work onto staff. So that I think really needs to be vetted out if we go down this road. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I know during the county budget time, we usually have at least one year-end report where we have the CAO from the county show up. I'm wondering if we could request of them something that we have requested from our staff this last year, that maybe we get quarterly reports so we have a little bit more information to go on as to where some of our monies are spent. I know this year's been a little bit different with lack of information coming from everywhere, but would that be something that we could petition them for, that we could maybe get some more quarterly reports so we can see where the money's
I could
going?
simply provide you with the quarterly reports that are provided to county council if you want.
Well, that would be good too.
Or like any other citizen, any member of this council could simply go on the website of the county and pull down those quarterly reports because they're available publicly.
Right. But if council had them maybe in their package at some point, we could have maybe some discussion around a few things that we could send our concerns back with you to the council meetings.
I will endeavor to remember to ask the clerk to put that on a future council meeting. I believe we're receiving the next quarterly report at county council on Wednesday, so it will be top of mind for this quarter. You bet. Anything further? Councillor Tadman?
Thank you once again, Mayor. I wouldn't support this because for the real reason that this isn't the first time this has been brought up over the years. And usually when new councillors get on board, they often, and some that are sitting around the table have said it's a bloated bureaucracy and we need to get out of it. Until you go there and you also listen to what the county actually represents, then I think you realize that we can't do it on our own. And I don't know, I can't remember ever having our own ambulance service here in Brighton. I'm pretty sure we never did. We had a lot smaller place when we had our own fire and without anyone else involved. We do have two social housing, I think I'm correct in saying that Francis Court is also social housing. So we have those two. There's so many things that the county does, and maybe we do need a quarterly report, but I am quite impressed by the end of when they come to give their status on what they've accomplished during the year. And I have asked questions in the past. So, and you're correct, Mayor. We know that the province isn't going to support this, and I don't know necessarily anybody else wants us either. So, I think we're here, and so.
Well, and that's of course the question you'd ask. Do we want to be the stepchild to the east or the stepchild to the west?
Well, yeah, and I think I'd just as soon be here and stay where we are. The other thing is this would take an awful lot of work for staff. And if I thought in the end it would be a great way to go, I would support it, but I don't see that happening. So I won't be supporting this.
I agree. And I think we all know that the person who used to use the words and still does sometimes bloated bureaucracy is me, in reference to the county. I still think that from time to time. I do, however, have a certain responsibility as the county councillor to support the decisions made at county council, and I will continue to do that on your behalf, of course. So if there's nothing further, go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, thank you very much for your comments, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and the rest of the council, and the good debate. But when it comes to County Road 2 and County Road 30, when they did those, they never replaced the culverts and they didn't do the ditching. So when you say they rehabbed them, they didn't rehab them totally. And the concrete, the asphalt now is starting to separate, it's less than a year old. But the thing is I understand all the concerns, but maybe my wording was separating, but we also have to look at the service that they're giving for the money we're giving them. And just want to look at that. But I understand where we're going with the province and where it was and where they're going and how they won't let us separate. But the county has to be made aware that a lot of the 7 municipalities, the councils on the 7 municipalities, I've talked to other councillors, are not happy either. And so it's one of the things that they got to start doing their maintenance, because we shouldn't be closing Loomis Bridge and all the rest of the stuff. And they're getting grant money and they're not sharing it. But anyway, what I will do, because there isn't the appetite for it, I will gladly withdraw this motion as long as Councillor Bateman is agreement to that.
Can I just say one comment on the whole thing before we, just listening at it, I understand exactly where Councillor Blanc was coming from when he put this forward. That's why I was willing to second to get on the floor, and I fully understand what Councillor Tadman and Councillor Vink were saying, and yourself. And I've sat through some of the county council meetings you were there, and you sense the frustration, whether you're in the rural, because we contribute a lot of money to them, and I'm sure the other municipalities do so. But it is, and you can see it, the other municipalities do benefit. It seems, you know, all the social services we all get, but when it comes to roads and bridges, it's all you have to do is drive through Cobourg and Port Hope. But as you know, sitting on there, we're at a disadvantage because it's a weighted vote. So I think we do have to stomp our feet and bang our hands a little louder, because even when you want to push for something, you're at that disadvantage with the weighted vote, as you know, to get something. So I think we just have to collectively as a whole, just be a little louder and get a little more bang for our buck. Might not do anything with the weighted vote, but maybe this and banging our feet and stomping them will help a little, because it's apparent the other ones do get more in the roads and stuff.
So yeah, just to be clear though, Cobourg taxpayers, there's more of them, so they supply more money to the county than any other community, and they have very few county roads comparatively. Just the one coming in from Port Hope. Everything else is a municipal road. So I mean, does Cobourg benefit in other ways? Of course. Is the Loomis Bridge frustrating? You bet it is. And I think we'll be dealing with that as time goes on. But you know, these are all give and takes, right? Every community has different gives and takes with regard to the county and any other upper level of government. Councillor Anderson.
I just want to finish my comment before he starts.
Go ahead.
So what I'd like to do is withdraw this motion, but I'll come back with another motion that's more palatable.
We'll see. Councillor Anderson.
I just add, you mentioned a couple of Cobourg, Port Hope, but Trent Hills is also part of of the county. And this has been a good year for Trent Hills, or last 2 years. You know, they've got developing an aqua center, their new fire hall, new town hall, new, all kinds of things have been happening there. And I noticed how it works. You know how it works. The squeaky wheel, right? And we need to be a little bit more, I think with the new economic committee and things like that, the right people on that committee, things like that, we can start making some, our municipality can start making some kind noise and getting a little more involved with the county. Whether they open their arms to us, that'd be nice. But we have the merit, one person at the table. But if we had more people backing up that one person or the mayor, we might be able to be a squeaky wheel as well. And there's a lot of things can come our way, and they're in our strategic plan that we're going to need the county for a number of things. So to turn them off right now might be not a good, we should be warming them up and putting some demands behind that warm feeling. So I don't know how to put it, but I think everybody's had some good things to say tonight, and I just thought I'd give you my 2 cents.
So if I can just comment on your 2 cents, the Aqua Center has no county funding and in Trent
No,
Hills.
but it's all still.
No, but there's no county funding, zero. And the new fire hall, council chambers, ambulance space, the county is only funding the ambulance portion. The fire hall and council chambers are entirely funded by the
Well,
taxpayers of Trent Hills.
Trent
So-
Hills might want to look at your motion. No, I'm just, no, but things are happening.
But just to be clear, I mean, when these partnerships take place, they are financial partnerships as well.
You know, things mushroom when things get rolling a little bit. And that's what we're trying to do here, and get a few things
I agree.
aside from housing moving around.
That'd be
All
nice,
right.
wouldn't it? Councillor Tadman.
I just want to remind Councillor Anderson and anybody else who is thinking about the bridge in Colburn and the squeaky wheel. That squeaky wheel has been yelling and hollering and screaming for that bridge for what?
Campbellford, the one in
Yeah.
Campbellford, 1987.
Yeah. So, it's finally going to happen after all those years. So maybe it looks like Trent Hills is getting a lot. They're not.
Well, they've been fighting for that bridge like 1987.
And it
the year
is.
I got my license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a
Put it in
bridge too.
perspective.
We have a bridge too.
Ours is tiny. You're withdrawing your motion, sir?
Yes. I
One
will.
more comment
One
before
more
you do. Go ahead.
There was a notice of motion passed for staff to come back with a report on the selection site and looking for a fire hall that was passed in my first year of council, which I put in March or April. And basically from that time, we have not received the report. So now if you bring in that we're going to be on the next selection time for a fire hall, I put that 1.5 years ahead so we would get a head start on it.
And I know the former chief was working on that. So my anticipation is that the CAO and the new chief will dig those files out and be prepared to have that discussion, at least at the strategic planning update, because I think that would be an appropriate time to talk about that.
And I will, and I thank you very much for the rest of the council that we're all on this, we're basically on the same page with different things where we are on this, and I will withdraw my motion.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to move on to the next motion, which is moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Deputy Mayor Vink, that staff consider the hiring of a part-time IT position for the municipality during budget deliberations. And Councillor Blanc, this is your motion as well. Would you like to speak to it, please?
Yes, and this one I'm not withdrawing. So what it is the reason I put this in is that I think we need a part-time IT to help out when they need it, because even with my laptop, when I go there, either has to be Linda Whitfield or Candace or Councillor Mark Bateman that helps me with my iPad doing it. If we had an IT for some of our programs, like I can't open my PDF files on the stuff that's forwarded to me, like this council meeting. I couldn't open my PDF files at home or anywhere else, but I can here. And there's some type of a glitch in the system. And it's also to help out so that Mr. Street, who attends on a lot of committees and stuff, and when we have these virtual streaming, could go and help out at the same time. So I think it's 3 or 4 hours, but that would come out at budget time. I think Deputy Mayor wants to jump in.
Thank you. I seconded this motion. I think from the beginning, we have staff that are doing IT and it's taking them away from their regular job and probably taking them longer than perhaps what maybe an IT person would take. And of course, and through COVID, we're having to deal more on IT in order to be able to have our meetings, not just these meetings, but our committee meetings. And I just think it's time we look into it and figure out the best way to go about it, whether it be hiring a staff member or having someone on contract, if that even works, or do we need someone on site? So I just want to have the conversation and perhaps something to decide on for budget time going forward. Because I think we've put this on our regular staff for too many years.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to go back to our first year on council and our orientation at the county. I know both Councillor Anderson and I had a long conversation with the IT department there. And I know at that time we talked about trying to bring something like that forward at our budget meeting as well. So I certainly support this. I think at the time, maybe our staff thought they could handle all of these issues, but I'm wondering, as the deputy mayor said, it takes away from a lot of work and some of these kind of things. I know that, and maybe there again, we're going back to the county, but I know they have supported other municipalities in the county. So could definitely be one place to look at when it comes up to budget time. Thank you.
But we won't look there if we pass this motion, because this motion says to hire a part-time IT position. So that would mean we will not look at the county. Councillor Tadman.
That was part of my question, Mayor. And also, the part-time IT person would be someone in the area that we would hire, or what was your thoughts on that?
So this is really just tacking a box into the organizational review called part-time IT position. I don't think there's any strategic look at who we would hire or how we would hire them. That would be a staff.
So we're not making any decision today anyways, because it looks like we're just going to discuss it during budget deliberations.
Which starts, well, that capital does, but yeah. It starts next week.
So let's receive it for now and bring it up at budget then.
Councillor Anderson.
I agree with that, Mary. When we spoke to the county, Doug, a couple of years ago regarding IT, they even offered up a name of a part-time person that lives in Brighton. And I think we might have thrown that out there at one point, but that person's still around and still works for the county. And, you know, there are possibilities that it's like sharing, cost sharing, and it would be on a scheduled need basis or every Tuesday, you know, be you know, that way when somebody has a problem, they know there's a certain day or a certain, rather than calling the person every time you have a problem, it's going to be like calling the animal control every time you have a problem. So
yeah, the county provides IT services on a pay-for-service basis to, I think it's all McCalderman, Crammy Township, and the Port Hope Police Service.
I think there's more than that too.
And they may do other service, but I mean, full-time IT services.
But they'll give you at least support. You mind me discussing, but they'll give you support or give you some help direction.
I'm sure that's true.
It won't cost you anything already.
Councillor Rowley.
I would wonder if the mover and seconder would consider amending their motion that maybe we just research an IT position instead of just hiring somebody part-time for the municipality. Seeing how we're going to do this at budget time, would it be prudent for us to then maybe consider what the county has to offer before we have to hire a role?
I'm going to go over to Councillor Bateman before we make any amendments so he can speak to the motion. Go ahead.
Just two comments. First one is, if you go down this road, you hire the right person, a good IT person, a lot of this stuff can be done remotely. You can access anybody's tablet if you got the right person and manipulate it. We did that all the time at Converges. The second comment, if we go down this road and we hire a part-time IT person, can I request that somebody tells me what the salary range is so I can bill Mr. LeBlanc?
I'll just throw a number out. He'll be fine. He'll pay in coffee, but Deputy Mayor.
So if I can suggest that we perhaps amend the motion a little bit and just add in there or cost sharing with the county for discussion at the budget deliberations, so that we're just preparing something for discussion at that time, so that we're not throwing it out there in the middle of budget and not having something prepared.
So can, through the mover and seconder, can we put that staff include IT solutions during budget deliberations? Is that enough?
Sure.
Yes, I'm in favor of that. One question.
Go ahead.
One question for this clerk. Is that a good way of saying it?
So the motion has been amended by the mover and seconder to read that staff consider IT solutions during budget deliberations. Anything further? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. We'll move into the council direction follow-up list. And I will read the motion and then ask if we have any questions. The motion is moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received the council follow-up list as information. Any questions from members of council? There are none noted. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. There's nothing under unfinished business, so we move into bylaws. First bylaws with regard to public nuisances, and it's moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council gives a bylaw, its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate certain public nuisances. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next bylaw is with regarding the appointment of James Smith as fire chief, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. The council gives a bylaw, its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to appoint a fire chief for the corporation of the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Can't get out now, chief. Next bylaws with regard to Chapel Street, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. The council gives a bylaw, its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to amend and update bylaw 126, 2016, a bylaw to regulate and control vehicular parking on municipal property. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Now we move into reports of advisory committees of council and reports and minutes and council reports. So we will be receiving some minutes of advisory committees, and then we will be debating recommendations. It's my understanding the recommendations are not coming out of the minutes, but coming out of minutes of meetings that we aren't passing the minutes for. I'll ask the clerk's department if they can speak to that, please. There you go. So that being the case, members of council, I'm going to hold off passing the minutes of the advisory committee meetings until we've read and decided what to do with the recommendations. Because if we pass the minutes, we pass all the recommendations and agree to them without having the opportunity to debate them separately. So with your permission, I'm on 14.1. I will be going to the recommendations first, and then before we go on to the next advisory committee, I will read the acceptance of the minutes. So the first is to deal with Casey's Lane. This is coming from the Accessibility Advisory Committee. It's moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the Accessibility Advisory Committee recommends council direct staff to investigate the accessibility of Casey's Lane, including lighting and surface upgrades. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this was brought up at a couple of the meetings, and first of all, I want to thank those involved that got those sidewalks, a lot of the sidewalks fixed on Main Street, and they're looking good. I don't know how to build sidewalks, so I can't really tell you if they're perfect, but at least they look good with my eye. But Casey Lane is a good way to get down to the next part, whether you're, and I wouldn't suggest it, but you can go to the liquor store and all other kinds of places down there. And there is a lot of people with mobility issues, and that is in the evenings. This time of the year, it's starting to get dark early, and there's no lighting along there. And also, it was all a nice idea to put the interlocking sort of brick, but now it's up and down, and it's not level enough for people with canes, walkers, and, well, motorized vehicles, not quite as bad. But so I would just like to see if staff could come back with some recommendations. I know we don't own the building on either side, but maybe we can think of some way to be really nice to the owners of those buildings so that we could get that area lit up.
Sounds like another partnership opportunity.
Perfect. We're like partners. So that's all I have to say about that. But I think it would be beneficial for all to have that.
Sure. Any further comment? And there's nothing wrong with the liquor store. I know and love people who shop there.
Yeah, I heard that you like that place.
It's a true rumor. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Just a little bit of clarification. Are you considering all of Casey's Lane, meaning the part that runs between, like alongside the liquor store as well, to the parking lot there? Yeah, to the plaza. Yeah, okay.
So the full length from Main Street to the plaza parking lot. Yeah. Anything further? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. And then we'll move back. Moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council receive the minutes of the August 14th, 2020 meeting of the Accessibility Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? The motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Tadman, that Council receive the minutes of the August 18th, 2020 meeting of the Applefest Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Bless you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Tadman, that Council receive the minutes of the February 25th, 2020 meeting of the Brighton Digital Archives Advisory Committee meeting as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just happened to bring some of the work that the Brighton Digital Archives has been doing. They put hundreds of hours into promoting Brighton in so many different ways. And without the volunteers in this town, not much over above the usual would get done. And I think that we should recognize these people. For instance, they helped out so much with, as the library board people were just saying just now, with Canada Day, and I had heard that they're going to help out with the vigil for Remembrance Day, but they also have done an awful lot with different people, interviewing them, and it takes forever. I didn't understand how much, but to edit all the stuff they do, so it takes hundreds of hours altogether. And these people, sure, they get a little bit of money to attend a meeting a few times a year, but this is costing them a lot of money to do this. And I think that we really should thank them, especially if we see them in person. They did the walk a mile for us, and they never seem to turn anybody down when they're asked to do something. So kudos to the Brighton Digital. So I think they've done a great job. And it's now going to be saved forever.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Councillor Bateman.
I was just going to add to that. They do great work, and Councillor Rowley can speak to this as well. They presented before our events committee, and they've gone through the process of getting the licensing, and they're looking at purchasing a drone to enhance what they can do for the municipality in terms of taping stuff and putting stuff together. So I know they're going to go around presenting in front of various committees to help with the funding, but hopefully all the committees help out, because I think that'd be really interesting.
I think I heard about the drone exercise, and I hope they're successful in it. I think it would be a real benefit to the municipality, to the committees that operate events, and to the Digital Archives Group. So I'm hopeful that they're successful through the committees. But if not, I'm sure we'll find another way to partner with yet another group in the community to make this happen. Councillor Rowley, did you have a comment?
Just a quick comment. His Councillor Tadman said, yeah, they helped us with Canada Day and they helped us with the Walk a Mile. I should say, look forward to our Christmas presentation. They're helping with it too.
Yeah. Anyone else? Councillor Tadman?
And I just once again want to let everybody know that it doesn't just involve the people in here, people that have moved away for whatever reason. And some people because of their own health, but they can still, and they love to see things that are happening in Brighton. So it's a benefit for those people too.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council receives the minutes of the March 10th, 2020 and September 9th, 2020 meetings of the Community Events Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And I'm going to move the minutes of the Heritage Committee to the end of our recommendations. Councillor Rowley?
Could I just bring up a little thing from community events, just so that the public is clear as well,
Go
that
ahead.
the municipality is not hosting anything for Halloween and that we're leaving that up to individual families to do their own, just to highlight that, just in case we get more questions. But I know our committee did look into that. We did look into sharing with the Codrington Community Association. And for health reasons during this COVID time, we've decided that we would just walk away from that. So just to be clear, the municipality is not hosting anything for Halloween.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council supports the recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee to provide an update to the Heritage Advisory Committee regarding the possibility of purchasing the Memory Junction property given its heritage designation. Yes, very well. Deputy Mayor.
I'll speak to this seeing as I'm on the committee. Now, there's another item here about the artifacts. Is that I didn't see that motion. Is that motion there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Can I speak to both, or do I guess I have to wait?
Yes, please.
Well, basically, these things come up at the committee, and then they're asking questions, and they're wondering where things are at. And you know, I want us to be able to have some sort of back and forth communication in some way. So this is our way of doing it, saying, hey, what's happening with this? So they're just wondering where things are at. And we have talked about it before. Things have stalled a little bit, I think. And so this committee, of course, is interested because it's a heritage building, and they're just wondering at one point if they could get an update. How that looks, I don't know. How we go about that, perhaps. There we go. We have a CAO that would like to speak to it.
I think the CAO would probably be best to speak to it. Go ahead, sir.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, this will be an item for discussion at our budget deliberations over the course of the next couple of weeks. So this item will be brought forward full center, and we'll have a fulsome discussion with respect to going ahead or not going ahead, or going ahead conditionally or otherwise. So I think it's incumbent upon staff to give council the first update with respect to where we are and what monies that we might need, and then accordingly, the members can get back to their individual committees.
And should members, representatives of council at those committees need staff assistance to provide an update, they could certainly make that request through your office, correct? Thank you. Anything further on this? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. The motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive or supports, we'll need to decide on one of those, the recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee to investigate acquiring copies of the Brighton historic artifacts and content within the Memory Junction buildings. And perhaps we'll let the Deputy Mayor speak to the motion before we decide whether we're receiving or supporting. Deputy Mayor?
Again, another item that came up at the meeting, there were a few members that had attended the auction, and there was a lot of Brighton related, like even ledgers and that sort of thing from way back when. And the understanding was that the Digital Archives Group hadn't documented these ledgers yet. And there were other items as well, and they were just concerned. We had a brief discussion about whether or not it's the municipality's role to preserve these or not. I mean, these things always come up, right? And it's always a difficult discussion as to what our role is and what our role isn't in this. So again, it was something that came up. It was a decision that the committee couldn't make, and they kind of wanted to throw it back to council to have a bit of a discussion around this and how we go about this and whether or not we can look at acquiring some of these items, or even if staff could sit down with the family, and maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't know. The impression I got was that there was no discussion back and forth with the family. Apparently, there is lots of Brighton content there that they, was being auctioned off to out of town people, and they thought it'd be a shame to lose some of it. So that's the conversation.
So Councillors LeBlanc and Rowley, are we supporting or receiving?
Support.
Go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. I do believe that some of it has been documented with the archives people, but I also think as a suggestion that Art Heaney, who is married to Ralph and Eugenia's daughter, Lynn, would be the best source at this point to talk about it all and what is already there. The other thing that we need to think of, if we're going to get some of that stuff, where are we going to put it? Where are we going to display it? Are we going to build a museum?
Deputy Mayor?
Well, we can go back to our conversation about the county, who does have space for us for certain things. I think there were some items that were set aside, the family is holding for us. So definitely a conversation needs to happen. Okay. And then we need to decide what degree, like if these are old, ledgers about that were from the municipality that probably should never have even actually left the municipality in the first place. It would be really good to look at them and see. And yes, the county has a place to store this sort of thing. So
we have to find that out.
What's that?
Because we don't have a lot of room there either, do we?
But I don't think we have very much in there. So
okay.
I don't think we really use it, but certainly staff can look into it, right? This is something we need staff to look into us, have the conversation and get back to us so that we're not losing something valuable.
Right.
And in 2022, at least in theory, there'll be more room at the county archives because they're going to get a larger space as part of the Golden Plough Lodge redevelopment. Anything further on this? All in favor? Those opposed? Motion's carried. A motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council receive the minutes of the February 10th, 2020 meeting of the Heritage Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. And same with Rural Advisory. We have two recommendations. The first is moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council receive or support the recommendation from the Rural Advisory Committee. The Council requests a formal update from the County of Northumberland regarding the Loomis Road Bridge reconstruction, and further that the rate of speed of Loomis Road be reviewed. Councillor Anderson, this is your motion. Perhaps before we decide whether we're receiving or supporting, we should find out from staff if there have been any discussions on the Loomis Bridge recently.
Through your worship. The CAO and I had a discussion with some county staff back at the beginning of July. It was part of a larger discussion, but the bridge was in there. And at that meeting, we all agreed that we'd meet in another month. They were going to provide some more information. We've received nothing. We've received no invitation for another meeting. There's been no update since then. And as I understand it, it's not in their draft budget for replacement next year at this time. So I really have no update on the status of the bridge, but it does look like it won't be in place or replaced in 2021.
Certainly not by the county. So I would suggest that we support this motion. You okay with that, Councillor Anderson?
Definitely. I agree to supporting it. Sure.
Councillor Bateman is the seconder. You're okay with that?
Your worship, if we could just clarify that motion, the speed part of it should be removed because Loomis Road is under Brighton's jurisdiction. So it should just be to request a formal
right. So
response.
there are two parts to this motion.
Okay,
The
yes.
one is requesting a formal update from the County of Northumberland with regard to the Loomis Bridge, which would happen through staff. So my anticipation would be that staff would reach out to the county and get a formal update for council. And the second part is that the rate of speed of the Loomis Road be reviewed.
Okay, correct.
Okay, so there's two items there. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Tadman, that council receive or support recommendation from the Rural Advisory Committee that council endorse and adopt a tree program for 2021 to replace trees removed under the 2020 contract. Before we receive or support, I'm wondering if I can get one of the Rural Advisory Committee representatives to talk to us about what that means exactly. Go ahead.
Speaking to Preston, when we spoke about this at the Rural Advisory Committee meeting, it's probably the best in our conversation today to push this back to budget deliberations, because you could probably speak to it. It was going to come out of your budget when we were talking about this to plant the trees to help the environment. So if you want to explain where that was going to come from.
Mr. Parkinson?
Through your worship. Yeah, so at the Rural Advisory meeting, we had a discussion about all the trees we're removing. And we're removing over 200 trees this year that are dead, dying, or diseased. And the thought just came from me that we should be good land stewards and make an attempt to replace these trees and keep our canopy up within the municipality. The problem is we have some funds left over this year in the tree budget, so we can fund it. But the problem is I don't have the resources to maintain trees. So we have the funds to plant a couple hundred trees, but I don't have the staff or the vehicles to go and water these trees and maintain them. So the idea of an adopt a tree program, people who want their trees replaced along their frontage or on their property then could apply to the county, or sorry, to the municipality, and then we could plant the tree and then they would promise to water it and maintain it and that sort of thing. So it was just an attempt to develop a program that we could use moving forward to replace the trees that we're cutting down.
Thank you. That makes an abundance amount of sense. You had your hand up? Does that answer your question, Councillor Bateman?
I was just going to also add, if we get to that point where we're going to do it, we might even be able to reach out. And I know we just adopted the word partnership, but maybe possibly work with Laura Trent, because I think they sell the wildflowers and the trees every year, and do something along that line. So it might be a cost savings there if we partner with them, if we get to that point of doing this.
So Councillor Bateman as the mover, we're supporting this, I assume. Councillor Tadman as a seconder, you're okay with that?
Yes, and I think it's a great idea to be able to adopt a tree. I think there'd be a lot of residents that would be keen on doing that.
Yeah.
We may even not have to pay for all the 200 trees.
Maybe not. Certainly wouldn't have to pay for the watering. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council approve the minutes of the February 26, 2020 meeting of the Rural Advisory Committee. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. We move into reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receive the Police Services Board minutes from February 24th, 2020 as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Tadman.
The only thing, 10.2, I think, I really do think that there's a mistake there. It's got pretension, and I think it should be presentation. So the whole sentence reads, David Green reported the community policing has started fundraising for this initiative. Community policing was in the process of applying for funds through the Brian Todd Foundation, and there was a pretension. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be pretension.
Presentation?
I think it should be presentation there, that's all.
So we're going to change as presented to as amended with that amendment. Anything further? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council received the Brighton Public Library Board meeting minutes for June 24th, 2020 and July 22nd, 2020 as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And we move into correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. With a motion from Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley, the council support the request from the Brighton Public Library Board to proclaim the week of October 18th to 24th, 2020 as Ontario Public Library Week in the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. FYI correspondence, moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council receive as information Mayor Ostrander's letter of support for the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 100 application for funding from the Horizons Grant Program for improving the building's kitchen and security system. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Now we move into question period. If anyone in the public gallery has any questions with regard to an item that was before us in the agenda, please step forward to the podium. There are none noted. We will take a 10-minute recess before proceeding into closed session. It's 8:13, so I'll see you back at 8:23 p.m.